Hello and welcome to this video which is all about GCSE history at Ken Stimpson. So the first thing you might be thinking to yourself is, well, why should I choose GCSE history? And of course the most obvious reason is because you like history and you want to study that further. You know, maybe you've really enjoyed it in years 7 and 8 and you're thinking, yes, I would like to carry on with this. Or maybe you're thinking this course might have the skills that I need to develop to enable me to succeed in the future. So this course will help you to develop your knowledge and understanding of British and world history. So we're looking at a variety of units. We're looking at the USA in the 19th century, Elizabethan England, which you'll already have some knowledge about, the history of medicine from the 12th century to the present. So that's a slightly different way of looking at history, and Germany from 1918 all the way through to the outbreak of war in 1939. So history, as I'm sure you're aware from the history that you've done in years 7 and 8, will help you to develop valuable skills. So you will be learning about the causes and consequences of key events. You'll be assessing the importance of different factors in bringing about change. You'll be looking at the work of individuals. You'll be looking at the significance of events. So I'm sure that these are all terms which are already familiar to you from the work that you've done in history so far. You'll be continuing with source skills, so continuing with making inferences, assessing the reliability of sources, deciding how useful sources are in terms of helping you to find out about the past, and making judgments which you will need to be able to justify. So all of this is building upon the work that you've done in years 7 and 8. So this GCSE does place high demands on your literacy skills, because obviously there's a lot of reading and writing that you will need to do. You will need to be understanding sources and analysing those, both written sources and visual sources such as photographs or cartoons. And there are some questions in the exam where you do need to write at length. So there are some questions which do require essay style answers. So if you enjoy reading and writing, and you enjoy looking at sources from the past, then this might well be the course for you. And of course it will also sort of develop your understanding about the world we live in today. How has the past actually shaped the world that we live in today? The exam board that we have chosen is Edexcel, and that's because we think it has a range of engaging topics and a variety of questions. So there are a few sort of shorter questions, but as I say, there are also some questions that do require you to write lengthier answers. So there are 4 main topics which we cover in the History GCSE. The first of which is the American West. So we're looking at America in the 19th century. This is a depth study because we're looking at a relatively short period of time, historically speaking. So we are looking therefore at the events that happened in that time period in quite a lot of depth. So this is all about the history of the development of the USA and the way in which the development of that country had an impact on the Native Americans who already inhabited that particular area of the world. So we will look at the lifestyle of the Native Americans. We'll look at the reasons why Americans wanted to start to move west. We'll look at the impact that had on both of those groups, and the resulting conflict as well. But we'll also study very famous events, things like the California Gold Rush. We look at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. We look at the Oklahoma Land Rush, as well as some quite famous individuals as well, such as Billy the Kid, a notorious outlaw. And all of this will sort of help you to understand how the USA developed into the superpower that it is today. Another topic we look at is medicine through time. So this is a little bit different maybe to some of the history that you've done in year 7 and 8, because this is a development study. So we're looking at the way in which medicine developed over a very long period of time. So we're going from about the year 1250 AD all the way through to the present. Okay, so obviously we're looking at a longer period of time, therefore we're not looking at everything in quite so much depth. We'll be picking out key information about how medicine has developed over that time. So starting in the Middle Ages, looking at things like the Black Death, coming all the way through to medicine in the modern era. So we'll be thinking about things such as what did people believe about what caused illness, how did people try to prevent illness, and then eventually how were people able to successfully treat illness. So we look at things like the development of antibiotics, anaesthetics. We look at the reasons why we have the healthcare systems that we have today. So, for example, things like the NHS, but also not forgetting about the importance of clean water and sewer systems, which people in the past definitely did not have access to. So, quite a useful opportunity to think about how successful people were in the past at dealing with illness and comparing that maybe to how successful we're being at the moment in terms of dealing with illness, because obviously it's not an issue that has gone away. We also look at early Elizabethan England. So we look at the accession to the throne of Elizabeth I in 1558, and we go all the way through to the Spanish Armada in 1588. So again, this might be a topic that's a little bit more familiar to you, building upon the work you've done so far. So we look at the problems facing Elizabeth at the start of her reign, the way in which she dealt with those, how successfully she dealt with those. We look at the religious conflict between the Protestants and the Catholics and how that threatened Elizabeth. We look at conflict with countries such as Spain, as I mentioned. We go through to the Spanish Armada, but we also look at everyday life in Elizabethan England. So we look at what kinds of things people did in their leisure time, what pastimes they had, what sports they played. We look at what kind of education people got. And we also look at the age of exploration. So we look at people like Sir Francis Drake and Walter Raleigh and how they sort of pioneered seagoing and trying to develop colonies for England in places like like the New World, which we would know as maybe the USA today. Our final topic is Weimar and Nazi Germany. So this topic covers the problems that were facing Germany after the end of the First World War. So we look at the government that Germany had between 1918 and 1933, which is the Weimar government. We look at how things went wrong for them, Hitler's rise to power. We look at life in Nazi Germany, the persecution of minorities and so on. So again, this might be a topic that's slightly more familiar to you by the end of year 8, but certainly going into lots of detail about how Hitler was able to exploit the situation in Germany and come to power, and of course the impact that had on the lives of German people. There are 3 exams for the GCSE. Medicine, which also covers a section on medicine during the First World War. So we look at how medicine had to develop very rapidly in order to sort of deal with the huge numbers of casualties that were caused in the trenches and on the battlefields of the First World War. And that's all on the paper 1 of the exam. Paper 2 actually covers 2 topics, so there are separate exam papers, but those exams will be on the same day, and that covers Elizabethan England and the American West. So that exam is 1 hour and 45 minutes because there are 2 topics that you have to cover in that time. And then the final exam, which features sources. Okay, so most of the questions on paper 3 revolve around being able to analyse sources. That's the one on Weimar and Nazi Germany. And then you might also be thinking on a very practical level, well, what can I do next with GCSE history? And the answer is, well, lots and lots of things. So if you're interested in staying on to post 16, either at Ken Stimpson or elsewhere, then you can use it to move onto A-level history, but it would also be a very good starting point for other A-levels or BTEC courses. It is a course that's very highly valued by employers, by colleges, because of the knowledge and the skills you gain, which are highly transferable. And it's also a gateway into lots and lots and lots of different industries. I've listed a few here, such as law and journalism, the heritage industry, teaching, marketing, and so on. But again, because it is highly valued by people who know, how much knowledge and how many skills you need to have had to have succeeded at GCSE history, it is something that people really do value and could be your gateway into lots and lots of exciting career options. So I hope that has given you a little insight into what we do at GCSE history, and obviously there will be some opportunities coming up for you to find out more.